Paris, 1925. The streets are alive with a rhythm of clattering carriages, the laughter of cafes spilling into the evening air, and the faint hum of conversations in cozy bistros. Jazz music drifts from underground clubs, mixing with the aroma of fresh bread and roasted coffee. The city pulses with life, with ambition, with dreams both grand and desperate. But amidst all this vibrancy, one man walks with a subtle smirk, a glint of audacity in his eyes. Victor Lustig, a man whose reputation was not yet written in the history books, but whose actions would soon echo across the city and beyond. He moved through the crowds like a ghost in a tailored suit, his presence commanding yet unassuming, his charm disarming yet calculated. He wasn't a politician, nor a banker, nor a soldier. He was a con artist. And not just any con artist. He was one with a vision so audacious it would shock the world and redefine what seemed possible. Because Victor Lustig, this seemingly ordinary man with extraordinary ambitions, did the impossible. He sold the Eiffel Tower, not once, but twice. Yes, you heard that right. Twice. The same monument. To different people. In the same city. And he walked away both times. In a city filled with skeptics, businessmen, and government officials, he spun a story so convincing, so meticulous, so perfectly executed, that people handed him enormous sums of money without a second thought, without proper verification, without suspicion. How could one man accomplish such an audacious feat? Was it luck, timing, charm, or pure genius? Before we dive into the story, I've got some absolutely wild tales coming up on this channel. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. Trust me, they're worth it. The answer lies in understanding not only the man but the city, the era, and the timeless psychology of human desire and greed. Victor Lustig wasn't born a master con artist. He was crafted by experience, shaped by opportunity, and refined through countless smaller schemes that taught him the art of deception. Born in 1890 in what is now the Czech Republic, Lustig grew up speaking 5 languages fluently: German, French, English, Italian, and Czech. This linguistic mastery would become one of his greatest weapons, allowing him to blend seamlessly into any social circle across Europe and America. By his early 20s, he was already working the transatlantic ocean liners, posing as a nobleman, a businessman, or whatever persona suited his purpose. He would befriend wealthy passengers, charm them with stories and wit, then relieve them of their money through rigged card games or fake investment schemes. He understood something fundamental about human nature. People want to believe in opportunity. They want to trust charm. They want reassurance that their instincts are correct. And Victor provided exactly that. By 1925, when he arrived in Paris, he had already perfected his craft. He knew how to read a room, how to mirror someone's desires, how to make the impossible seem inevitable. But the ocean liners were small stages. Paris was a theater worthy of his greatest performance. He studied the city carefully. He observed the business elite, their habits, their fears, their ambitions. He listened to their conversations in cafes, watched how they conducted deals, noted what made them trust and what made them hesitate. And then he noticed something others had overlooked. The Eiffel Tower was struggling. Maintenance costs were astronomical. Rust was spreading across its iron lattice. Public opinion was divided. Some saw it as a symbol of French ingenuity, others as an expensive eyesore that should be dismantled. Victor Lustig saw something else entirely. He saw opportunity. Paris in the 1920s was a city of contradictions. The Great War had ended just 7 years earlier, leaving scars both visible and invisible across the nation. Wealth flowed through certain districts while poverty lingered in others. Glamour mixed with decay. Optimism wrestled with cynicism. And beneath the surface of celebration, there was an undercurrent of uncertainty about the future. The Eiffel Tower, standing proudly in the heart of the city, was no longer the universally beloved symbol it is today. Built for the 1889 World's Fair, it was originally meant to be temporary, a 20-year structure that would be dismantled after serving its purpose. But it remained. And by 1925, that permanence had become a problem. Maintenance costs were staggering. The iron structure required constant painting to prevent rust, a job that took 18 months to complete and needed to begin again immediately upon finishing. The elevators were expensive to operate and frequently broke down, and there was genuine public debate about whether Paris should simply sell it for scrap metal and use the funds for more practical purposes. This wasn't just rumor or speculation. Newspapers had published articles discussing the possibility. City officials had held meetings. The idea was out there, floating in the collective consciousness of Paris. Victor Lustig didn't create the opportunity. He simply recognized it and seized it with both hands. He began his preparation methodically. First, he rented an office in a prestigious building, furnished it elegantly, and created the appearance of legitimate government operations. Then he obtained official-looking letterhead, either through forgery or creative procurement. Every detail mattered: the quality of the paper, the precision of the fonts, the weight of the envelopes. Next came the research. He compiled a list of scrap metal dealers and businessmen who would have the capital and motivation to purchase such an enormous quantity of iron. He studied each potential target, their business history, their reputation, their financial situation, their personality. He wasn't looking for just anyone. He needed someone ambitious enough to see the opportunity, wealthy enough to afford it, and just insecure enough to be manipulated. Finally, he crafted his narrative with surgical precision. He wouldn't claim to be selling the tower outright. That would be too suspicious. Instead, he positioned himself as a deputy director general of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs, tasked with the unfortunate duty of quietly arranging the tower's sale due to budget constraints and maintenance costs. The story was perfect because it contained elements of truth. The maintenance costs were real. The public debate was real. The government's financial struggles were real. All Victor had to do was insert himself into that reality as the man making it happen. And so, the invitations were sent. The meeting was scheduled at the Hotel de Crillon, one of Paris's most prestigious establishments. The location itself was crucial. It suggested legitimacy, importance, confidentiality. 5 scrap metal dealers arrived, each having received an official-looking letter requesting their presence for a matter of national importance and utmost discretion. The letter emphasized that only a select few businessmen were being considered for this opportunity, creating an immediate sense of exclusivity and competition. Victor Lustig greeted them personally, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, exuding the perfect balance of authority and approachability. His office for the day was borrowed, but it looked authentic. French flags in the corner, official documents carefully arranged on the desk, the subtle scent of expensive cigars lingering in the air. He began with small talk, putting them at ease, establishing rapport. He asked about their businesses, their families, their opinions on current affairs. This wasn't idle conversation. He was reading them, identifying their triggers, understanding what motivated each man. Then he shifted to business. "Gentlemen," he began, his voice grave and confidential, "what I'm about to share with you must remain strictly confidential. The government has made a difficult decision regarding the Eiffel Tower." He paused, letting the weight of those words settle. "As you're aware, the maintenance costs have become unsustainable. The structure is aging. The public opinion is divided. After careful consideration, the ministry has decided to dismantle the tower and sell it as scrap metal. However, this must be handled with extreme discretion to avoid public outcry and political complications." The dealers leaned forward, their interest piqued. Victor continued, explaining that the government wanted to keep this quiet until the deal was finalized. He emphasized the urgency. Other dealers in other cities were being considered. Time was of the essence. Then came the masterstroke. He arranged for the dealers to tour the Eiffel Tower itself, providing them with what appeared to be an official inspection. They walked through the structure, calculating tonnage, estimating value, discussing logistics. Victor accompanied them, answering questions with confidence, occasionally consulting his forged documents. The tour transformed skepticism into belief. After all, would a con artist go to such elaborate lengths? Would a fake government official provide such detailed access? Among the 5 dealers, one stood out to Victor, André Poisson, a provincial businessman eager to establish himself in Parisian high society. He was ambitious, slightly insecure about his status, and hungry for a deal that would cement his reputation. Perfect. Victor arranged a private follow-up meeting with Poisson. This time, he added another psychological layer. He subtly hinted that his government salary wasn't quite adequate for his lifestyle, and that a small commission would ensure Poisson's bid received favorable consideration. This detail was brilliant. Instead of raising suspicion, it actually increased Poisson's confidence in the scheme. After all, a real corrupt government official would ask for a bribe. A con artist wouldn't need to. Poisson paid both the purchase price and the bribe. Victor Lustig vanished from Paris within hours, the money safely in his possession. By the time Poisson realized he'd been conned, Victor was already in Vienna, planning his next move. And here's the most remarkable part. Poisson was too embarrassed to report the crime. He'd been duped so thoroughly, so publicly within his business circles, that admitting it would destroy his reputation. He stayed silent, which meant Victor could do it again. Most con artists would have considered the Eiffel Tower scheme a once-in-a-lifetime achievement. Pull it off, take the money, move to another country, retire on the proceeds. Victor Lustig wasn't most con artists. He waited. Not long, just enough time for the immediate heat to dissipate and for the story to fade from memory. Then he returned to Paris. Same scheme, same hotel, same forged documents, different scrap metal dealers. One might assume that news of the first con would have spread, that businessmen would have been warned, that the Paris business community would have been on alert. But remember, Poisson never reported it. His embarrassment was greater than his loss. So when Victor sent out his second round of invitations, the new targets had no idea they were walking into a trap that had already claimed victims. The second con unfolded almost identically to the first. New faces, same psychology. Victor refined a few details, adjusted his approach based on what he'd learned, but the fundamental structure remained intact. He selected another ambitious businessman, someone eager to prove themselves, someone who could be manipulated through a combination of greed and insecurity. And once again, it worked. Money exchanged hands. Victor disappeared. By the time the second victim realized what had happened, Victor Lustig was once again long gone, leaving behind nothing but a legend. The audacity of selling the same monument twice, to different people, in the same city, within months of each other. It defied logic, challenged belief, and elevated Victor from mere con artist to something approaching criminal artistry. But legends, like shadows, eventually attract light, and the authorities were beginning to take notice. Of course, audacity invites scrutiny. Success breeds attention, and attention, for a con artist, is dangerous. The French police began investigating reports of unusual government dealings involving the Eiffel Tower. They pieced together fragments of the story, interviewed confused businessmen, traced financial transactions. But Victor had always been 3 steps ahead. He understood that the key to a successful con wasn't just the execution, it was the exit strategy. He never stayed in one place long enough to be caught. He never used the same identity twice. He left no trail that couldn't be explained away or disappeared entirely. Even when investigators got close, when they thought they had him cornered in a hotel or spotted him in a cafe, he would vanish like smoke, reappearing weeks later in a different country with a different name. Victor Lustig went on to orchestrate dozens of other cons across Europe and America. He once convinced Al Capone to invest $50,000 in a stock deal, kept the money in a safe for 2 months without touching it, then returned it to Capone claiming the deal had fallen through. Capone was so impressed by Lustig's honesty that he gave him $5,000 as a reward for his integrity. He created a money-printing machine that supposedly duplicated bills, selling it to wealthy marks who didn't realize they were buying an elaborate box that simply dispensed preloaded bills on a delay. But eventually, even the greatest performers take their final bow. In 1934, Victor Lustig was finally arrested by the U.S. Secret Service for counterfeiting. He was convicted and sentenced to Alcatraz, where he died in 1947. But his legend lived on. So what does Victor Lustig teach us? That the line between genius and audacity is razor thin, almost invisible. That understanding people, mastering timing, and controlling perception can bend reality itself. That charm, intelligence, and relentless courage can achieve what seems utterly impossible. But perhaps more importantly, his story reveals something profound about human nature. We want to believe in opportunities. We want to trust charismatic people. We want to think we're smart enough to spot a good deal when we see one. These desires make us vulnerable. They create blind spots that skilled manipulators can exploit. Victor Lustig didn't just sell the Eiffel Tower twice. He sold a dream, a narrative, a perfectly constructed illusion that appealed to the deepest ambitions of his victims. And while his methods were criminal, his understanding of human psychology was genius. Today, the Eiffel Tower stands unchanged, unsold, visited by millions who likely don't know the story of the man who claimed to sell it. But the legend endures, passed down through generations as a reminder of what's possible when audacity meets skill. So here's the crazy part most people don't know. Victor Lustig had a set of 10 commandments for con men that he lived by. Rules like be a patient listener and never look bored and wait for the other person to reveal their politics, then agree with them. If this story blew your mind, drop a comment below. What would you have done if Victor Lustig approached you with this deal? Would you have fallen for it? Next week, I'm covering the Stanford Prison Experiment, a psychology study that went so horrifically wrong, they had to shut it down after just 6 days. Hit that bell icon so you catch it. Victor Lustig, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, remains a testament to the power of vision, skill, and unrelenting boldness. And while he may have deceived many, the story continues to inspire, entertain, and remind us of the extraordinary, and sometimes dangerous, potential of the human mind. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.